A few specifics of what was undoubtedly one of the most dramatic finishes to one of the most dramatic races in one of the most dramatic seasons are now coming to light as the major storm surrounding the occurrences in Abu Dhabi appear to have passed. Or has it? Max Verstappen of Red Bull won the season, and there were other incidents that some people found odd. The Red Bull driver's face is hidden by his helmet, but it is clear from the sound of his voice that he is beaming widely. Patrick Friesacher, an 11-time Grand Prix starter, inquires, "How was it? About all I can manage is, wow. Thank you very much. I try to gather my thoughts as I carefully exit the two-seater Formula 1 car that has been whirling me around the counterclockwise Eurospeedway Lausitzring for one quick out-and-in lap." In 2005, he experienced his worst day in Formula 1 at Indianapolis, a day that everyone involved in the sport wants to forget. However, longtime Red Bull Lieutenant Patrick Friesacher is still active today, driving a two-seater that gives regular people a glimpse of an F1 car's brutal potential. At the US Grand Prix, Red Bull won the World's Constructors' Championship (WCC). In the Japanese Grand Prix, Max Verstappen won his second World Drivers' Championship (WDC). Red Bull has already won 2 championships for the first time since 2013. It was understandable when Sergio Perez and Max Verstappen appeared to be much more at ease in a recent interview prior to the US GP because all of this was unavoidable. Verstappen, though, did not pass up the occasion to criticize Mercedes and Toto Wolff. On the Pardon My Take podcast, Max and Checo made an appearance. The host quizzes them both with amusing questions, but one required Max to just hold no bars. The two team owners never miss an opportunity to poke fun at one another, as we have seen in the rivalry between Red Bull and Mercedes, and things get too heated when it comes to Christian Horner and Formula 1 Drive to Survive. Verstappen was questioned in the interview about whether Horner has ceased gripping excessively about Toto Wolff. There wasn't much to complain about, in response from the two-time winner. They haven't actually visited our seas before. To be clear, the moments are those that occurred as a result of his actions, rather than those that involved things that happened to him. One of them was something that the Dutchman held onto right up until the end. Furthermore, he was weaving on the straightaways, which is referred to as hazardous driving. Verstappen was instructed by his race engineer not to weave as a defense in the final lap, according to current information from Helmut Marko, and it's easy to categorize the driver's answer as viciously caustic. Verstappen received a €50,000 fine for improperly touching Hamilton's car's rear wing after qualifying during the same eventful weekend. The Red Bull driver responded to his fine by saying, "I hope good expensive wine. That would be nice. They can also eat dinner with me. That dinner will also be on me." He always responds with humor and wit. Of course, he will eventually realize why drivers like Lewis Hamilton, or in the past Michael Schumacher and Ayrton Senna, kept their opinions to themselves as their careers advanced and he grows in stature as a role model and driver others to look up to. Not that they weren't funny. They were, but those of stature are subject to more scrutiny. Christian Horner performs a superstitious ritual before each race. In every circuit, he uses a special restroom before each race. Max was questioned if Christian had located a lucky toilet for himself to use to urinate in before each race while speaking in this context. "Yes, we discovered one in Japan," Max jokingly said, referring to the well-known Japanese toilet manufacturer whose name was also the boss of Mercedes. "It has the name Toto. In essence, all you have to do is sit on Toto and drop something on him." Throughout Max Verstappen's flying lap in Q3, the audience yelled and celebrated wildly. In what can only be categorized as extremely challenging conditions, at Silverstone, the Red Bull driver made a huge save. The Dutch Lion managed to secure a provisional pole position and was headed for P1 until Ferrari's Carlos Sainz stole it away in the closing seconds. Verstappen's performance is nonetheless impressive in spite of that. The 24-year-old maintained his competitiveness throughout the qualifying rounds and secured a spot on the front row, P2. Many people believe that the Silverstone qualifying 2022 was among the greatest this year. Due to the intense competitiveness that persisted all the way to the finish, even a middle team may have taken first place. Verstappen responded wryly to the inquiry regarding his spin, laughably denying it. He said, "I was warming the tires." For that reason, the 360 was completed in a single motion. It all revolves around giving them a little extra heat. Fans have praised the Dutchman for his save because it may have been harmful if he had slammed into the barricades under those circumstances. The Red Bull driver remains the favorite to win the British GP despite not having clinched the pole. Verstappen won the Canadian GP by a wide margin. Both pole sitter Carlos Sainz and Verstappen had previously participated there. Sainz will start at the front this time, but the RB18 has been faster than the F175 in the past. It's also no secret that Ferrari has had problems on race days. The race will undoubtedly be entertaining to watch with Verstappen squeezed between the two Ferraris. Although Lewis Hamilton's season is over, not everyone is upset about it. At the Emilia-Romagna, Max Verstappen won for the second time this season, but seven-time champion Lewis Hamilton finished an unsightly 13th due to ongoing Mercedes issues. George Russell, a teammate, finished 4th overall, maintaining his position from earlier in the race. On the overall standings, Hamilton is currently in 7th place with 28 points, 60 points behind Charles Leclerc and 30 points behind Verstappen, who is in 2nd. Following the race, Verstappen was at his most direct, calling Hamilton's problems nothing new, since they've been sluggish all year. I don't find it particularly exciting, it just happens. Helmut Marko, a team advisor for Verstappen, continued to twist the knife. "I mean, we lapped him," Marko said to Craig Slater of SSN. "Perhaps he's thinking that he should have stopped last year," I suggested. Red Bull Racing CEO Christian Horner was less combative. According to Horner, Hamilton's day was clearly quite tough for him today. He still has good driving skills. Just 5 races ago, they were arguing in Abu Dhabi. "I'm sure they'll work out their problems because there is still so much to play for in this championship. We don't rule anyone out." After signing a 2-year contract extension after his epic and contentious duel with Verstappen last season, Hamilton says he is still 100% committed to Mercedes and that he has no plans to retire. "It is not in my DNA to back down just because we have struck a hard spot," he said to reporters after the weekend's outcome. "This can be fixed. It will be a difficult year that we will have to endure together." Nico Rosberg, the 2016 champion, encouraged his ex-teammate Hamilton to respond. "It was hard to see Lewis in that position," said Rosberg. "He's really depressed, which is understandable." Even though the season is still new, they are nowhere with that car and won't be able to compete for race victories anytime soon. Lewis finds it difficult to stay motivated as a result. "Since he is a true fighter and still harbors ambitions to outdo his buddy, I believe he will survive." Lewis might feel more inspired to keep trying and fighting if George is performing so well. According to his Red Bull crew, Max Verstappen was forced to forego his final lap of Formula 1 qualifying for the Singapore Grand Prix because of a fuel shortage. A 1-liter sample is required by F1 regulations, and failure to provide one will result in disqualification, as Sebastian Vettel and Lewis Hamilton have already discovered. Despite being on course for a pole lap at Marina Bay, race engineer Gian Piero Lambiase instructed him to box in Sector 3, which elicited a torrent of profanities over the radio. Charles Leclerc secured Ferrari's 9th pole of the year, dropping him to 7th place.